It's time for some Sega time, and this is going to be quite interesting. Hey, welcome back to the channel. In this video we are going to be doing a little bit of a chit chat about this very interesting gaming fighting pad. In my line of work I can sometimes find these very interesting, intriguing products that have never been released in the European or maybe also the US market. And where I love fighting games, this fight pad is something unique. But I'm just going to be honest, this is not going to be a cheap product to find. When I purchased a Sega Dreamcast some time ago, this seller had the Capcom edition of this special fighting pad. However, I also paid a quite premium price for it. The controller is actually made for Capcom versus SNK, and I'm guessing that there is also an SNK version of the controller out there. But in this video I just want to do the unboxing together with you. And is it really worth buying something like this? First of all, you need to be a big fan of fighting games like me, and we're going to be playing a couple of games. So for example Street Fighter, but also of course the game that was actually intended for, the Capcom versus SNK. But let's do a little bit of a chit chat and let's also do an unboxing. So when it comes to this particular controller, I bought it complete in box. Makes it even more expensive, but what makes it unique, it comes with these very cool collectible cards, where it also gives a moveset and some information. So everything is of course not in English because this was made for a different market. But you know, when you look into, let's say, the Japanese market, you can find all kinds of cool, let's say, very fun items. However, I always love, let's say, to check them out to see is this actually going to be worth it. So in here we're finding some overview, so what you can guess. And what is interesting, that this thing has like a separate vibration button. So this thing comes packed with some really cool features. But let's take a close look at this, because this makes it really, like say, cool Capcom character instruction cards. Yeah, this is a thing that makes this really a very cool collectible. So beside having a box, so if you're going to be finding this controller, it's highly possible let's say the Capcom character cards are not with it, because there's many of those things people lose throughout the years. So let's do a very gentle opening up. And let's take a close look in here. So, okay, so this, I'm guessing there's a little bit of an explanation what is going on with these cards. So we're having over here Ken. And on the Ken card it will showcase all of the moves you can do with the character. So we have Kami, Sakura, Gal, Zangief. Man, I love that soundtrack of the original Street Fighter 2. Oh yeah, and Bison. That was like what we're calling in the European market, and Bison, like of course the final guy, but they're calling the boxer Bison, like Balrog, like, yeah, you know, all the names are completely switched out. Like, and they were calling Bison Vega, you know, it's kind of funny when it comes to that. I completely forgot about that. However, when you're going to be looking into this is of course only the cards for the Capcom version. So I'm guessing if you're having the SNK, then we're getting of course the SNK, let's say, different cards. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a chit chat about the controller and what can we expect. So this is a design I personally never seen before. I mean, not the D-pad itself, because that is familiar, the floating D-pad. Yep, the floating D-pad that we have seen before, and that makes this absolutely a great fighting pad. The feedback of it is absolutely great and has a very nice travel. In the middle, finding the start, there's a rubberized button, and of course the 6-button configuration that I find very convenient. Sometimes I wish they had like with almost every single handheld, because I love playing fighting games. So when you're looking at, like, say, the buttons, they're like these concave buttons, if I'm saying it correctly, and the press itself is very satisfying, I can tell you that. So they're like the membranes are underneath, that's like not micro switch that we've seen with handhelds, for example. We have like a very nice travel and a satisfying click. Over here, rumble function can be turned on and off, and at the top we're finding the memory card slot. So if you want to make a save, you can just slide it in. It looks kind of weird, by the way, but yeah. So in this way we can actually save. And yeah, and this, okay, oh man, I would love to have like a normal, like a different color. Like this is the normal version, but I would have like a translucent black or a black version. That would be more, or a yellow, like that would be a better combination with the control, because this is just freaking ugly. And of course the cable, let's say, holder at the back for having the cable at the right position. So yeah, this is actually the overview and comfortability. I must say this thing is very comfortable, just simply to do of the form factor and everything else. Here's some information, made in Taiwan. Okay, that's interesting. So besides that, no shoulder buttons. So if you're a big fan of having shoulder buttons for having mapping certain buttons to there, this is not going to be the controller for you. But let's plug it in and let's have some old school fun. We should make an ASMR video out of this, but let's put in the game. Okay, so one of the things I love about this purple translucent case, I didn't make a very separate video about this. You can just replace them fairly easy. I don't know if you can see this video in the future, if this is going to be still a thing. So let's plug in the controller. We don't have the beeping sound, of course, because we didn't add the memory card itself. And of course we're going with Capcom. Where I love SNK for what it is, I'm still a Capcom fan when it comes to that. So let's choose with, start off with some Ryu. I wanted to play M. Bison, but that is not possible. But let's also check out some Terry Bogard. Man, I love that character. One of my favorite ones to play of the series. So by the way, it's like Capcom vs SNK was actually the first fighting game I've ever played on the Sega Dreamcast, and I just love the way how this game is. For me, this is absolutely a timeless fighting game because of the graphical part. This looks so great. So one of the things I do notice when you go doing these movesets, like when you can have the D-pad quite pointy at the end, and you can just actually feel that. Not that it's going to be annoying or painful or some kind. Okay, well, let's see. So we're going to be having. Okay, it's interesting. So having low, medium there, and high is in the middle. I don't know if that's going to be normal, but yeah. So this controller, if you want to play some serious fighting game, you do need to pay a real big amount of money for this. But this controller is absolutely worth it when it comes to that. I do miss the shoulder, let's say the shoulder buttons. I would be like very great to actually have it, because the controller layout really is, like say, the best for that. So you're basically putting your fingers on here. So this would be like an obvious choice to have like shoulder buttons. So in that case, it's absolutely a missed opportunity. But let's move on to some other games to see how they will work and play with the controller. So where I'm actually a bigger fan of Street Fighter 2, I must say that Street Fighter 3 is really growing on me when it comes to that. I think it's such an interesting series, the way how it plays and the way how this overall engine is. And the music, where I'm still like a little bit debating with myself, like what is better? The music of the console version or the arcade? Because the arcade has some really cool stuff to it. So where is the controllers actually made for the other game? This is of course not going to be a problem, because there's no, like say, special communication going on with the controller. It's just a controller, so you can just actually use it for all kinds of fighting games. So this remix of the music, I really find it very funky, and I do like it, where I still have a little bit of a love for the arcade music itself. So let's do a Shoryuken. See, that can be done. And this is more like a personal handicap, to be honest. Let's try from the other side. Let's do a super. Yeah, absolutely. Like how easy I just need to wiggle on the controls to do the super. That is very just really, really pleasing. And the Shoryuken comes out instantly. So yeah, this is just, man, this makes me really exciting to just play a little bit more after making this video, you know, like do this as a game session. Yeah, absolutely awesome when it comes to that. But if you want to bring your Sega Dreamcast fighting experience to the next level, this is one of those controllers that will give you like a completely different level. That's a fact. It can be a very cool add-on to your collection too, but it comes with a hefty price point. I love Capcom vs SNK, one of my favorite games to play on, let's say, the Sega Dreamcast too. When it comes to fighting games, the controllers are very comfortable, and when you're getting a little bit of the hang of the D-pad, this is such a very fun fighting experience. And of course, the cards are just like an extra bonus. If you can find it without box, without the cards, and you can just buy it for cheap, and you don't really care about the extras, this thing can be a really very, very fun add-on. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments what do you think of these controllers, and subscribe, because that means I will see you in the next video.